Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You go to fill your car with petrol. The price has doubled. You open your phone. The news says oil is at $200 a barrel.
As oil prices fell on hopes for an end to this fighting, and in the U.S., stocks surged close to records set in January.
Airlines are canceling flights. Factories in Japan and China have stopped working. The stock market is falling. And the reason for all of this? One small strip of water, only 33 kilometers wide, has been shut down. This is the Strait of Hormuz. And today, we are going to find out exactly what happens to the world if it never reopens. The answer is more frightening than you think. Stay with me. What is the Strait of Hormuz? First, let us understand what this place actually is. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow passage of water. It sits between Iran on one side and Oman and the UAE on the other side. It connects the Persian Gulf, where most of the Middle East's oil comes from, to the Arabian Sea and then the rest of the world. Now here is the number that makes this place so important. Every single day, around 21 million barrels of oil pass through this strait. That is roughly 20% of all the oil traded in the entire world, every single day. In simple words, 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil on Earth goes through this narrow water. Who depends on it? Now, let us talk about who uses this strait. Saudi Arabia, the world's biggest oil exporter, sends almost all of its oil through here. So does the UAE, Kuwait, Iraq, and Qatar. Iran itself controls the northern shore of the strait. This is very important, and we will come back to this in a moment. On the buying side, the countries that need this oil the most are Japan, China, India, and South Korea. These countries import massive amounts of energy, and most of it comes through Hormuz. Europe also gets a big portion of its natural gas from Qatar through this strait. Day 1. The oil price shock. So let us say, today, the Strait of Hormuz closes. What happens next? Within hours, not days, hours, oil markets go into full panic. Traders around the world start buying oil futures as fast as they can. The price of crude oil jumps immediately. Some analysts believe it could hit $150 a barrel within the first 24 hours. If the closure looks permanent, $200 or more is very possible. Why does the price jump so fast? Because oil markets run on fear. The moment traders hear that 20% of global oil supply is stuck, they start panic buying. And when oil gets expensive, everything gets expensive. Petrol becomes more costly. Airlines, which run on jet fuel, start losing millions per hour. Shipping companies that move goods by sea need to pay far more for fuel. Factories that use oil or gas as raw materials, plastics, chemicals, fertilizers, see their costs go through the roof. All of this happens on day 1, before a single ship has even turned around. Week 1, shipping goes into chaos. Now, let us move to week 1. This is where the shipping world truly breaks down. There are about 17,000 ships that pass through the Strait of Hormuz every year. That is about 50 ships per day. Oil tankers, LNG carriers, container ships carrying goods. When the strait closes, all of these ships have 2 choices. Option 1, stay and wait, hoping the closure ends soon. Option 2, reroute, go the long way around. What is the long way around? Ships going from the Persian Gulf to Europe or Asia would have to sail all the way south, around the bottom of Africa, around the Cape of Good Hope, and then back up. This adds roughly 10 to 15 extra days to the journey. It also adds enormous extra fuel costs. A large tanker ship burns thousands of dollars of fuel every day. Adding 2 weeks to a trip means hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra costs per ship. Month 1. The global economy starts breaking. 1 month in, this is where things go from bad to very serious. Let us go through what is happening in different parts of the world, starting with energy. Countries in Asia, especially Japan and South Korea, have very little oil or gas of their own. They import almost all of it, and much of that comes through Hormuz. Within a month, their strategic reserves, the emergency oil they store for exactly this kind of crisis, start running low. Japan has reserves for about 90 to 100 days. South Korea about 80 days. After that, they have a real problem. Power stations that run on gas start cutting electricity output. Factories begin operating at half capacity or shutting down completely. Now, let us talk about food. This is the part most people do not think about. Fertilizer, the chemical that farmers put on their fields to grow crops, is made from natural gas. If gas becomes very expensive or hard to get, fertilizer prices rise dramatically. Farmers cannot afford to fertilize their fields. Crop yields fall, food production goes down. Within 1 month, food prices in many countries begin climbing sharply. And then there is plastic. Almost every product you buy, your phone case, your food packaging, your medicines container, involves plastic. Plastic is made from oil. When oil becomes scarce and expensive, the cost of making almost everything goes up. Who gets hurt the most? Not every country suffers equally. Let us be clear about who takes the biggest hit. The worst affected are the oil-importing countries of Asia. Japan, as we said, imports almost all its oil and gets a large share through Hormuz. The Japanese economy, one of the biggest in the world, would take a massive blow. China is the world's largest oil importer. It would face enormous pressure on its factories and economy. India is in a similar situation. India imports around 80% of its oil needs. A Hormuz closure would cause fuel shortages, price rises, and serious economic pain for hundreds of millions of ordinary people. South Korea and Taiwan, which make the world's computer chips and electronics, would struggle to keep factories running. Europe is less dependent on Hormuz for oil, but it imports a lot of natural gas from Qatar that comes through this route. Countries like Italy, France, and Germany would face serious energy bills and possible gas shortages in winter. Can the world survive without it? Now, you are probably asking, surely the world has a backup plan? The honest answer is, yes, there are some alternatives, but none of them are enough. First, there are pipelines. Saudi Arabia has a pipeline called the East-West Pipeline that can carry oil across the country to the Red Sea, bypassing the strait. The UAE has the ADCO pipeline to Fujairah on the open ocean. But these pipelines together can only handle around 4 to 5 million barrels per day. Remember, Hormuz carries 21 million. So even if these pipelines run at full capacity, the world is still missing 16 to 17 million barrels per day. Second, countries have strategic reserves. The U.S. has the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, one of the largest in the world. The International Energy Agency can order member countries to release their reserves. This could soften the blow for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months. But reserves are not infinite. They are a painkiller, not a cure. Third, other oil producers could try to increase production, the United States, Russia, and some others. But ramping up production takes months and cannot fully replace what Hormuz provides. The Strait of Hormuz is 33 kilometers wide, but its power over our world is enormous. It controls the price of the petrol in your car, the cost of your groceries, the electricity in your home, and the stability of entire national economies. This is why every government in the world watches this tiny strip of water so carefully. A single conflict, a single blockade, a single ship sinking in the wrong place, and the ripple effect touches every person on Earth. The world is more connected than most people realize, and sometimes the most important places are the ones you have never heard of.